Hello all, welcome to IEF webinar. This time we've actually come up with a very interesting topic. Usually our topics are the ones which are actually been most liked by the HR fraternity. This time, being a new year, first of all, wishing you all a happy new year. Being a new year, we have actually taken a topic which is more interesting for all of us. 26, how the workplace and workers are going to be, or what are the things that are going to evolve from there. Very different perspective. Usually we used to discuss only about attrition, retention, etc. I think for the first time, like a very futuristic mode, we have actually come up with a very interesting topic based on whatever things are happening. Currently, if you see, we are actually in the midst of two important things. There are certain things that are implemented, regulatory implementations are happening through via government, specifically the labor code reforms, EPFO reforms. Then we are also started to seeing the effects of artificial intelligence. So these two are going to play a major role. And to have a wide topic discussion onto this, we have got a couple of industry leaders with us, along with us as a panelist in today's conversation. We welcome Ms. Arunima Mohanty and Ms. Kavita Nigam as a panelist into our session. Instead of me actually giving the intro about them, I would request them to give a self-introduction. We'll get to know more about them, then we'll get on to this conversation. Ms. Over to you with a quick small introduction.
Yeah, thank you so much, Subbu, and wishing everybody a very happy new year. I'm Mrs. Kavita Nigam, Chief Human Resources Officer for Karam Safety Private Limited. We are into the domain of manufacturing and exporting industrial safety equipment of the highest quality standards. And it's a reckonable brand even in India. And I come with an experience of close to 27 years in the field of human resources and would love to share my thoughts in alignment with what the country is also looking ahead, and not just looking into what the trends have been and how we need to just, make a preparation for, going forward. So thank you so much, Subbu. Yeah.
Thank you, Kavita. We look forward for the session. Ms. Arunima?
Yeah, hi, good morning, and I'm wishing everyone a very happy new year. I'm Arunima Mohanty, and I am currently attached as a CHRO for Metalmen. We are into the business of auto component manufacturing. Having spent around 18 plus years of experience into manufacturing, have closely seen this industry growing in last 18 years. I would be able to really share an insight that how the new reforms are actually structuring the organization and how is it partnering both as an organization, as a country, and as a workforce ready for the future to be the epicenter of global supply chain to the world. So happy to contribute here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arunima. Thank you for accepting our invite to join for our session. Yes, my name is Subbu. Call me Subbu for the panel discussion. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of TeamLease, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's session. Okay. I think without a delay, let's get on to the topic discussion. We are so fortunate that, we have both the experts actually from the manufacturing domain. Arunima, this question taking cue from whatever that you said, the auto components manufacturing. Auto components manufacturing is one field where already industry 4.0 is already well established. Okay. If people are assuming that, people will go with the welding machine and then they actually do, no, nothing. It's all actually automated. A lot of automation that has actually come in. Now, with artificial intelligence stepping in, I just want to understand how it is actually getting onto the shop floor and what kind of productivity impact is actually happening in the workplace and the people who are working over it. It's a very I'm sure it's got a multiple components into it, but we want to start off with your opinion first and then move on.
Well, to start with, Subbu, just to share an insight that manufacturing is at right now an intersection of regulation, automation, and workforce transition. And I do see that, the year forward, 2026, is actually not an incremental change. It is about a restructural reset, I would say. And AI and automation is changing the ways we are working, not only at the shop floor, but also the white collar roles, which is evolving simultaneously. See, the journey of AI had started, smart factories had started way long back. Now it's almost like, many of the companies, or rather, I would say large set of the companies are already have taken that path. And it's been 5 years, 6 years down the journey. And what it had helped in bringing in the efficiency side of it. It is not at all being viewed in the manufacturing of job resizing. No, it is altogether liberate and making enough skills in place to really support the manufacturing to be placed to meet the domestic as well as the global demand of the, as the country we are playing the part of the supply chain. And when I look at AI, as the part and impact it has created in manufacturing work design, in manufacturing per se, AI has played a large role when it comes to the planning, quality, maintenance, procurement, and compliance side of it. Now, when I look at these functions, how it is transforming in 2026, it is largely playing a large role when it comes to the production planning and scheduling, when it comes to largely the quality inspection, wherein large part of the AI automation has happened, the predictive maintenance, keeping the output and efficiency high, be it on the compliance reporting side of it, because it has a larger bearing into the organization. So, I would call it jobs have been rather hybridized, not disappear. That's my take on AI and how manufacturing has evolved together in last 2 decades.
So adding on to this particular point, Purnima, for example, the people's assumptions are all okay. AI means it is actually into applications, because today we are also used to with applications where AI is getting embedded and it is giving a lot of answers to it. When it is getting integrated to the work environment, and your answers are brilliant. Okay, how it is actually going to be there for the 2026? Is there any other changes in technology as well? It's happening in the shop floor kind of environment that is going to have an impact. Just a curiosity question.
Largely yes, because who is running this, who is actually using the AI and who is taking decisions and who is utilizing it is all workforce. Now, when we talk about AI getting integrated with the job, well, AI success depends more on the job redesign and leadership capability. That's how I look at it, more than the tools, I would say. And when I look at the productivity gap, it's not effort based, it's more on the structural. I mean, we don't look at long hours as a high output. Rather, the knowledge has shifted from, more on the output than the attendance, people being out there, AI getting in the way of working, it more on the output based KPIs, more on human machine workflows, more on digital OE and OE's original equipment efficiency, we call it, more on seeing these efficiency coming out of it. So, AI is more being looked at the productivity, which is measured at machine level. It is more looked at process level. It is more looked at team level. We look at and at the end role level. So the productivity transformation is more, I call it more a design problem, not a discipline problem. And AI is something which is closing and bringing this gap closure.
Oh, amazing. I think whoever listens to this will actually have that positivity, because a lot of people assumption is, oh yeah, AI is also like a machinery which is going to replace a lot of people. I think the way you articulate it is very interesting. It's not the long working hours, but the output, how it is actually going to enable it makes a lot of difference. So thank you for that insight, Arunima. I think that's the positivity. I think I didn't get not a single negativity from this conversation. Amazing it is. So maybe I'll just take a insight from Kavita as well. Kavita, is this kind of a setup, because in we know that okay, the automobile manufacturing is the one which is more evolved, and I could actually see that from Arunima's actually articulation how it has actually shifted. Do you find a similar kind of a thing in the safety equipment that manufacturing as well? Maybe adding on to this, is it is actually coming in? Is there a reskilling that is required for the workforce, or do you anticipate that? Your views, Kavita.
Yeah. So Subbu, I have seen the manufacturing sector in India, how it has shaped up over the last few years. Mostly the automobile sector has been under the influence of the brands of not indigenous brands, but there have been processes set by Japanese companies or German companies where actually the interpretation of innovation is what is expected out of the manufacturing setup in India. Now, when we talk about manufacturing growing in India, I would like to look at companies establishing their innovative ideas and bringing that into a manufacturing foray, where Karam also stands in. So in safety equipment, the technology was not brought in from outside. It was completely built in from within. And having done that, we went into major customization for various regions, because the US market will ask for a different customized product than the European market. So where the customization came in, the possibility of AI driven or automation was limited. So I do understand in data capturing, in understanding efficiencies and all so and so forth, AI has helped. It is really good. Where we fancy with our skills, because we really appreciate the skills of our operators, is in that nimbleness towards, change where it is required to customize as per different market needs. And that is why Karam has been able to provide a lot of solutions across the world as well, because we've been able to give them solutions at a quicker pace. And individual skilling has really helped in that, and multi-skilling has helped in that. So there has been a proper balance of adoption of technology with the skilling of the workforce. So I always give a very positive picture as far as the technology newness is concerned, because it builds on you as well. And you are able to give time out for innovation. And that is where I think where India needs to now progress. We've understood how lean manufacturing and all happens thanks to the the automobile sector. And we need to incorporate that into, broader sectors of manufacturing.
I think we have two kinds of answers now, Kavita, because from Arunima's perspective of okay, how the overall standardization, the industry automation, led automation is actually been happening. Here comes where a manufacturer is actually manufacturing a lot of customization into it, and therefore certain things you are actually going in a specific direction. Because this actually answers the reality, the underlying reality of artificial intelligence. Because people say, right, when it is actually routine, you can actually automate more. When it is something is more customized, it is actually getting on to this particular direction. So for coming from that particular industry, your articulation was great in terms of understanding how this technology piece is moving. It is also clubbed with the skilling part. Now, just on the skilling part, maybe you can actually throw some more light, specifically with respect to workforce acceptance. When they actually skilling as a concept has been actually given to people, how are their acceptance? And specifically when tech is actually coming in, are they actually, as an organization, are we visualizing this and then actually giving a kind of a futuristic program? Because both are very important in 2026 and the upcoming years. So your perspectives on that, maybe a little bit more on skilling.
Yes. See, you said very well a couple of minutes ago that anything which is routine can be automated. Which is routine, which is synchronous, it can be automated. And if a person would be doing that kind of a job, it kills his inquisitiveness, it kills the challenges that he would kind of face. I have seen in over so many years of experience, people evolve when they are challenged. And when they are challenged, they seek skilling. So exposing them to that kind of an environment, skilling is important for everybody, white collared, blue collared, everyone. And when you skill somebody, you are actually upgrading that person's, you're taking him to the path of growth. So I have not seen that challenged, in our organization or in our industry, because there is new requirement coming in constantly, year on year. The standards are changing, things are changing, and people are on their toes to skill because there is something they look forward to. So the skilling part, we structure it as per the requirement of the market needs, different needs. And it's a motivation that brings in people to, skill themselves, whether in the operations, core operations, or in the management part, both of them.
I think you have broken the myth because a lot of organizations believe that, oh yeah, the acceptance is not there with us. Because when the mindset is, I think you actually touched upon a very key critical component. As an organization, if the mindset is appropriate, you will be able to execute it, and the acceptance from people are so natural. I think solid message, Vita. Because every such decision actually starts from the conviction part. Because when you believe that okay, the skilling is actually going to change, 100% it will change. But when you always start with the hesitation, will it or not, then automatically our people also will get that similar kind of a thought. Because when we are now living in a technical era, anything and everything is integrated with all of us. So the workplace expectations today, I could actually feel somebody who is getting onboarded to an organization, within few minutes they actually judge about the organization, how they are actually being supported, what kind of a tech piece is actually for them. So I can actually resonate this as well, Kavita. So now, moving from technology, one of the important things that is currently happening is the regulatory implementations, whether it is with respect to labor codes or whether it is the EPFO 3.2 reforms, Kavita. Before me moving to Arunima, since we were actually talking about this with skilling and other costing, etc., is actually getting on over there. How are we prepared on the cost structure model for the upcoming reforms, Kavita? What are your advices for the organizations to be prepared? I'm sure it's a very broad topic, but you can actually give your views so that they can.
Yeah. So when the new regulations came in, it's more about implementation of what needs to be done. what is correct. When we talk about the labor codes, the wages code, now the government is taking note of the fact that, okay, this needs to be done. You need to actually take care of your workforce, whether it is in the number of hours, whether it is in number of, the timely payment of their wages, or whether looking after their, post retirement or post completion of fixed term, just acknowledging their, efforts. So if I look at it from that perspective, this is something that needs to be done, right? Giving the workforce social security. So when you give them such certain kind of benefits, it has to be a cost benefit analysis. It goes with, something like a safety equipment being given to a worker. You have to understand it's not a cost, because in the long run, if you're saving somebody's life from the hazards that he's going to face in the workforce, it's in the long run, you have to work towards his motivation. So I don't look at it from the cost perspective. I think it's the right thing to be done. And when you articulate it that way, you can get the maximum output from the people. They feel happy about these things. Karam, for instance, in our organization, as I said, I didn't feel any change when the new codes were brought in, because we were already into that thought process. Our mindset was always that, timely payment of wages or the social security that is required for each and every worker, that needs to be maintained. So it has always helped us as far as our, output is concerned, as far as the support that we get from the workforce is concerned. There have been ups and downs. COVID was one big, down. 2008 was a very big down. But I think all of us battled it together. So it was not like the management being separate from the workforce. So if we all need to be together, we need to understand that these regulations are somewhere or the other creating a balance which is so required.
I think your last statement was a punch. It is like the creating a balance is very, very important. Organizations play a vital role. Maybe now I'll shift to Arunima. Arunima, taking cue from what Kavita said, do you think organizations should rethink about workforce planning? Because, for example, the organizations which are always anticipating this actually does it in a separate way, or completely anticipate. See, in fact, even for that matter, even minimum wages, you do not know which month, which year something is going to get revisioned, and because of which your budget is. So therefore, I take it for granted that okay, the budget is very important thing, that is I always have some kind of a provision. But with the new reforms coming in, Arunima, one, the question is, do you think organization has to rethink about the workforce planning? Or also, is there any other new provisions what they should actually anticipate? Because today it is actually notified. It has not been implemented absolutely because the states are actually into it. So your views, Arunima.
How do I look at it as at a personal front is for the 50 labor laws comprising and condensing into 4 codes. So that is number one. Single window, in terms of looking the application of those laws into, in a much, I would say, reform manner, those codes. But when it comes to the readiness of the organization, I do see a lot of maturity needs to come in. So example, like for workforce compliances and productivity, the risks are now financial and reputational risk, not functional issues. And when it comes to the workforce governance, it must sit alongside, be it capex approvals, be it the risk committee, or for that matter, the audit oversight. So if the management or the board or the CXO levels, doesn't own the workforce risk, it will surface as a surprise and in audits, or be it the cost or the kind of disruptions. So for me, I look at it as like, as manufacturing industry, we will feel that maximum impact due to, because we are heavily on the contractual workforce, our operations run round the shifts, we are overtime dependence. These reformations, how does it become the new way of working is the kind of, that maturity which need to come into the organizations. And glad that the ecosystem is forming, and there is an external support, internal alignment, and adoption. So all of it is there in terms of adoption of it. Also, I would like to, highlight out here the workforce models are now also changing in, and largely we are also seeing it in manufacturing, be it the contractual workforce, be it a permanent workforce, flexi workforce, gig workers in the R&Ds, all these provisioning, it remained a very principal accountability of the employer now with this reformation. And this is required because the new way of working is coming into the organization. So now what is requiring is to look at it from a scenario based cost modeling to now more of a compliance and a continuous governance based systems into the organization.
So it is now going to become as a part and parcel of every organization's life. That's a message that I'm actually getting it, because obviously every reform that was happening in the country has to be implemented. The reason why this particular question is, most of the smaller organizations or maybe even the mid-sized organizations, they're not geared up for this. While the labor codes were notified in 2020, it took a lot of time for the government to actually implement, and maybe without a kind of a heads up, it got implemented. So those organizations are actually finding a tough time. For example, the social security benefits. Let's say if the minimum, the wage component is actually going to be 50%, because of which it is going to have a cascade, specifically on the white collar side. It's going to have a cascade impact on their PF part. Now we have two options: either the organization bear the additional burden and then actually take it in the HR budget, or the take home pay for the individual. Is there any kind of a recommendation that an organization should follow, Arunima? Because some of these things are the common questions what are there with everyone. Your insights can actually help people to understand and move on to that. So, for example, today, whatever that I pay is say 12% of my PF contribution, employer contribution, and then employer contribution is likely to get added, because the component is likely to get increased because of the way my the 50% of the minimum part is going to be calculated. Is there any recommendations for on that side, Arunima?
Well, how do companies and the sectors and the organizations are looking at it as CS? There is quite a lot of disruption already been there into the labor market. You would see that, state-driven laws are defining the labor practices, and those labor practices are also, kind of becoming a decision factor for the companies to set up their shops into the particular state. So making it a very homogeneous approach. Hence, I guess that the driving factor of bringing this reformation. But yes, what is very much required in terms of these are very much incidental, I would say, the readiness which required for companies to look at it. Example like, the floor ceiling. And example, there are not much of difference which is happening in terms of, increased cost. The increased cost are just the, temporary part or I would say a decision to make a hit to be taken by the companies. It is more of a large restructuring which is to be looked in favor of the organizations and for for the readiness for a larger industry to attract the workforce. But even in such a case, even if that step need to be taken by the company on the compliance side of it, I guess what is very important to relook at the job, relook at the structure of the jobs, relook at the compliances side of it, and at least the compliances in terms of the output based driven. That is how I suggest the companies to look at it.
Yeah, I think again you touched upon a very important component. While this is actually a reform that has actually come in, maybe for this financial year, the budget is actually a kind of a concern for many. It's not, because it's as you rightly pointed out, it's a restructuring. It's a restructuring that is right for the country, for the employers, for the for the employee. So I think well articulated, because it should not be projected in such a fashion that okay, it is actually going to have a cost impact. It is maybe just because it has been implemented in the middle of the year, organizations are actually feeling that kind of a hit, or maybe trying to take a decisive decision on that. But then way forward, it is actually a restructure, because today also for beginning of the year, we've been doing our salary, the HR budget based on whatever that is actually available, and as per the law of the land, we've been actually doing on it. Yeah, thank you, Arunima. I think that was actually crystal clear communication for everybody to understand this perspective. Before we move on to the next question, Kavita, just this question to you. Just today, if we are serving to in global clients, specifically in export related business, etc., the workforce audits are actually very stringent. they want us to follow the laws of the land and the aspects. I know one of the electronics manufacturer, the global handset manufacturer, and their subsidies, the organizations which are actually supporting them in India, the kind of audits what they actually have are very, very stringent and very different. Do you find a similar pattern over there? And because of this reforms, any impact that you see, Kavita? Because this can be a message for organizations who are actually serving that in this kind of a platform.
Yes, Subbu, the organizations that are dependent upon vendors or tier one, tier two vendors, they will see an impact. Because if these organizations, if they are exporting, the export audits have always been very stringent. People who are buying into European markets or the American markets. So they will go into the depths because they have suffered all those. We know the cases of Zara and all those things that have happened in the past. So they go into the depths of, how the vendors are being managed. So they cross between the tier one, tier two, and tier three vendors. And it is important for a country like ours, where we are doing OE manufacturing for, overseas clients, to actually start educating their own vendors as well, the tier two and tier three vendors as well. It is for our good. And as Arunima also said, it's a restructuring. It's a restructuring of an entire mindset. So when we are doing the things right, so initially there will be hiccups because you have to get the things to be done in the right way. When you start with that proper intent and that communication is clear, it's not so much about compliance, but so much about intent, then the acceptance comes in very quickly. And the recognition of this particular fact that these things had been ignored for all these years. So we need to have them back on track. And it makes us as a country more, I think we become a choice for overseas customers to reach out to us. So why not? I think if this is a chance that we've been given, we must delve into it directly.
I think you are given us the impact statement. Are these clients actually preferring us? Then automatically the answer lies over there, because it's not that straight away they prefer you just because you are an organization. They know that, okay, you are actually following all these practices. You are actually clearing in all the compliance norms, and what are the basic standards that they set. I think that's a very nice message to deliver, Kavita. So now one of the important scenarios, or maybe the aspects that are changing in front of our eyes, we have started hearing, specifically in the startup world, the fractional leadership, fractional CHROs, fractional CTOs, and then the new buzzwords, because all these are actually now taking shape in 2026 or maybe in 2025. For itself, it has started actually coming in. Post COVID, the word hybrid working model has actually started. Maybe not for the shop floor people, but for the workplace, white collar, and all other employees. Then the word gig, I'm sure in the New Year Eve, what actually happened, everybody are aware. So when all these things are coming in, Kavita, your perspective on all these aspects, okay, how it is taking shape, where do you think anything is likely to have an impact in manufacturing? Anything that you see as a dynamic change that is likely to evolve? Your views, Kavita, before me going to earning.
Yes, suppose. So these are aspects that come in response to situations, right? So when COVID came in, we saw the hybrid model because that came as a response to the situation at that time, right? Work needed to continue, and organizations wanted people to continue to work, and they said, okay, start working from home. So that's where this concept of, work from home and all also started. When we talk about fractional CMOs and things like that, that has also come in as a result of the situation. Whereas when startups are there, they don't need full-time CMOs. They don't need full-time, so the CMO needs to utilize his entire time. So he believes that, okay, I can give my expertise to 2 or 3 organizations at a time, 2 or 3 startups at a time. They need guidance. It's more like a consultant kind of a job, but he's known as a CMO and he's a fractional CMO and things like that. Gig workers again is a response to the situation where there is so much dependent on the supply chain, and where the supply chain needs to fulfill itself within a certain time period, and that is how we have taken help from all these workers, and they are focused on these kind of things. That is the current situation. Now how it needs to change for the manufacturing, my thought process is it's important that we come out of just the IT based services that we are giving, just the logistics based services that we are giving, and focus on true manufacturing, which requires scientific skills, which requires engineering, which requires an understanding of shop floor working through this particular platform. If there are people who are going to hear it out, give importance to the basic need of engineering and not just follow systems as been told to us. Ask the, develop this ability to ask a why. And if we can create those kind of things, we can be developing a full set of skills, a full set of requirement for the coming few years. And I say that because the regulations are in place, the government is in, the positive mode of creating more manufacturing for our country. We need to realign our thought process, bring it towards a scientific approach, and ask the younger generation also to help focus on that, not just maybe the computer sciences or, core science. Go into the core science, understand why a single angular difference in a particular tool or a die can make an impact on the quality of your product, those kind of stuff. And I'm sure we'll go places with that.
No, thank you, Kavita. I think with like your previous answers, you were like very sharp focused. So the concept is actually it's not new nowadays. It's already existing among us, and people are now started developing understanding of each and element. It's not that okay, there are a lot of people who used to do work without understanding what is the impact that is going to carry. But now the way you're articulating, it's going to have a difference, and because everybody started questioning, okay, fine, what is this die for? Okay, how it is going to make an impact? Is there a recommendation that can, I mean, because most of the fine tuning of the processes and expertise actually comes once you start thinking about the impact that is going to make. And all these things are the ones which are actually just an enablers. Okay, great, Kavita. Now, before me moving on to the last topic, Arunima, this question, when you actually highlighted that output-based working methodology, because productivity was the key topic that you were actually speaking on. Now, with all these new 2026 trends, is there any kind of a model that is actually changing or the workforce that is getting evolved in specific in either in manufacturing industry or anything that you would like to actually highlight about to all of us how some of these things can actually change? Because earlier it was like pure, oh yeah, you are employed 8 hours. If you work for extras, it's overtime. Now, there are few organizations which are actually now getting onto a project based or maybe SLA based, those models are actually evolving as a working trends. Do you also find this, or is there anything else that you would like to highlight us, adding on to the points that I actually had conversation with Kavita now?
Yes. Well, the workforce models, which is also coming in and shaping the manufacturing. I mean, we look at it as like, one size employment model is no longer a work base. And the key drivers are like, be it volatile demand cycle, labor code compliances, skills shortages, be it automation or AI integration, which is coming in, and of course the cost pressure, which is with the quality expectations. So hence the adoption of multi-layered workforce is very steadily coming into manufacturing. Be it example like core workforce, flexi workforce, specialist gig workforce, as I mentioned earlier, in R&D or project-based workforce, and even so that the workforce in the extended ecosystem beyond the factory gate, what we call it. And this is all changing the emerging models into manufacturing as well. Be it hybrid 2.0, we call it, for engineering and support roles, which is coming in. The gig technicians for a very, very specialist role, be it in maintenance or the projects what we have. And even we have those experts, fractional experts, whom we call it in the functions like quality, digital adoption, compliances, gateways, which we are putting into our way of working, and as well in the project-based teams. So the whole work model is changing, and continuous importance and a continuous focus is by the management. How do we really run this workforce together as an organization in the ecosystem, which is so volatile today? So yes. So I call it like, future ready manufacturers. We would, it's a new design. We are designing the new workforce model, and wherein the compliances also is building in with the reformations which is coming into the organizations.
Great. I think earlier, I still remember compliance was actually seen as a separate department and was not integrated to the workforce. I think the way how you have actually articulated it, it actually showcases how it is actually getting changed. In fact, I think I should actually point out this point, like the way how you narrated, Arunima, we have started seeing this even the contractual workforce as an extended workforce within the organization. There are a lot of organizations which have started actually giving equal importance because they are helping the organization to get the equal productivity. So therefore, they should be treated on par with employees. In fact, this trend is also emerging. I can actually see that there is a within the HR team, the extended workforce team is actually started coming in. Workforce planning has actually started. So which means it's not that no more they are my third parties. They are still my extended employees, and then how I can actually get the best out of them. I think brilliant, brilliant. I think this is a wonderful session. Just one last question to both of you. Very interesting thing, and I don't think we can actually avoid this question when we speak about 2026 year. See, the other day I was giving a comment to one of my colleagues. See, if you actually look at the metro trains and the locomotive pilots who are sitting over there, you will find a 24-year-old girl or a boy. Usually, a locomotive pilot is somebody who's like, okay, age 50 plus, because the sensitivity of everything is completely getting changed. In fact, even in Vande Bharat, the people between the age group of 25 to 30 are actually more found in the locomotive as a pilots. Obviously, tech integration, a lot of things are actually happening. Okay, now why I'm saying this? We all now know that, okay, the Gen Z is actually getting into the workforce. Already they are coming. And 2026, 2027, the next 2 years is going to be a dominant year for them. When we have that workforce coming with us, what should be the takeaway? What should be the focus? Is there any change in the planning part we'll have to do? Because their expectations are completely different. They are coming just out of completely a different breed altogether. They even if you keep them free for 2 minutes, they get bored. Oh yeah, they need some kind of a creativity is at high. How do we leverage this? Maybe Arunima, with your perspectives.
While we are creating that entire readiness and the ecosystem and a continuous, focus, making the operating model such that the workforce, able to work in a very cohesive manner. There is an impetus which is there on the leadership capability development, wherein we continuously, moving away from traditional command and control to more of a leadership to lead for the future, especially in the manufacturing setup, which is more used to be called as a regime-based setup. The leadership capability, which we continuously to develop, is the data-driven decision making, be it regulatory literacy, people and technology integration, taking the change management at the shop floor, moving away from firefighting the foresight, from hierarchical to more accountability based. So, those are the kind of leadership style, the climate which we are bringing into the manufacturing for the readiness of tomorrow to more work in a coordinated manner. With that also, we are redesigning the critical roles for more of human machine collaborated roles, we call it, or to really enhance the shift-based matrix to more outcome-based models. Not a lot of focus has been put into skill enhancement, the people development, working, with the kind of the technology which is coming into the organization and ready and adopt and deliver. So the future of, I call it the future of manufacturing will not be decided by the machines alone. It will be decided by how intelligently we design our work and the work operating model and the workforce and the leadership style. That's how I look at it.
I think it's again a great summary. This is actually a futuristic of leadership, futuristic of workforce. I think more than focusing on Gen Z, the focusing on the leadership style to actually accept them, adopt them. Interesting point, because usually people will focus on, okay, this is how their behavior is. This is what, instead of a complaint, you made it as a kind of an acceptance model and get the best out of them. Amazing, Arunima. Thanks for this. Kavita, your views, the Gen Z part.
Yeah. So I'll just make it more simplistic and more straight. Gen Zs come with that. The freshness that they have brought in is that respect for every work. So they are not afraid to get down the machine. They're not afraid to drive an automobile, as you actually spoke of. They are go-getters, and I think that's the real positive about this, where they need to be nurtured and where they can actually contribute to the maximum is where you're looking after their needs in terms of giving them constant challenging roles, number one. Number two, building on the leadership is very, very important, as Arunima said. Also, sometimes, I do come across certain instances where people will give me a call that on a leadership role, I'm looking at a 28-year-old vis-a-vis a 45-year-old. What do you think is going to be better? Now, here it is the people management which actually comes in, and how you react to those, the people in your team. That unfortunately comes only through experience, through hits and trials, not through, textbooks. So while I do appreciate the go-getter spirit in the Gen Zs, what is best for us is let them build themselves into the leadership roles through their hits and trials, but nevertheless give them equally challenging roles and respect the fact that those people who come with experience know how to handle people and will be able to take things out better. So again, as I said earlier, it is a good balance between what is there either in machinery or in manpower, and I think that will eventually drive the organization forward.
Great, Kavita. I think you also touched upon the two important points: the freshness of Gen Z, the creativity or whatever they are actually freshness has to be leveraged. And you are complementing Arunima's point on the specific of leadership acceptance. See, I think from both of your points, I can actually sum up one point with the Swami Vivekananda's point of, okay, give me 20 young people, I can change the nation, right? Now, this is applicable at every instance. While we are now terming it as a Gen Z, but actually the youth population is actually getting, whenever it is getting in, the only aspect is it is now coming with the digital adoption more. That's the only difference, and for which now we are also fine-tuning ourselves from the organization. I think every organization should actually be getting onto acceptance mode, and how the leadership should actually be groomed for actually getting that acceptance. So great insights. I think we had a wonderful session, Arunima, Kavita. We started with the artificial intelligence, okay, how things are actually going to shape up, what are things that are actually including into our life, and then how things are moving on. Then the regulatory implementations on the labor codes and implementations, because of which, so the one key message is the budget is not something that, okay, you have to plan. This is something which is real. Only for this year, it is actually might be seen as a different impact, but it is actually part of the restructuring. I think that was a very great articulation. Then we moved on to the new focus, which is the hybrid, gig, etc. But still, it is actually there. But these are things which are furthermore going to evolve. And finally, we summed up with the Gen Z part. I think it was a fantastic session. Audience who are going to listen to this will definitely have a lot of takeaways from here. Thanks for great insights, Arunima and Kavita. Thanks for joining to our session.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a wonderful day.
We look forward for more sessions in the future.